Right.
All good. Brilliant. Thank you very much for coming to tonight's Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting. 2208, apologies for absence. To receive apologies
From Councillor Hutton.
Councillor Hutton. So we're happy with that. So we had a good time. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. 2216, declarations of interest, pecuniary or otherwise. Any declarations of interest, anyone?
Just one, but really otherwise. So happens, volunteer action Oval awarded me £100 from their draw. And as you appreciate, I happen to be our council's observer for relations with volunteer action. But I don't think there's any prejudice in it.
I don't think there is. I'm sure there isn't.
What's that?
So it's like £100. But I think it was just raising the case that he's won £100 from volunteer action.
Well done.
So congratulations. Thank you for sharing it. But nothing else. Thank you very much for that. Representation from interested parties. That's you. And the camera's moving on you, so thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much for allowing me to come to the meeting. I'm Myra Hales. I'm the new chair of Blooming Oundle, having taken over from Camilla Sherwin. I just want to give you an update on what we're doing because I've got a grant application to the council. So, as you'll have seen, we've recently done the marketplace planters and we're continuing to plant up the undersigned planters under the Welcome to Oundle. Thank you for the offer of the hanging baskets that we plan to use next year. Just to let you know what we have been doing with the Ashton Rothschild estate to find out what they're doing with the Riverside pub in terms of we would like it to look a lot nicer, basically. It looks a mess as you come into Oundle. So I've heard from them that over the coming months, they plan to repair the fencing and will cut back and tidy up some of the shrubs and weeds that are basically making it look a mess. So that's kind of one of the things that we've got in mind in terms of making a project for Blooming Oundle. I think the planters this summer look great, and when the festival is on, Oundle looks fantastic. But I think the rest of the time we could do a lot more with Oundle. You know, this is the entrance to Oundle, what I've just been talking about. And when there aren't any plants and the yarn bombers are not around, it can look pretty bleak, I think. It could look an awful lot better. Especially when you look at some of the nearby towns like Uppingham, Oakham, Market Deeping. I could put Stamford on here. They really do go to town in terms of making their marketplace and their towns look beautiful. One of the reasons for kind of highlighting plants is that we were thinking about entering Britain in Bloom, but at our recent meeting in September, with the current economic climate, with the cost of living crisis, there was a 50-50 feeling about do we enter Britain in Bloom 2023 or do we delay it for a year? We haven't decided yet, but if we do enter Britain in Bloom, Oundle would be in a category with, as you can see there, other East Midlands counties like Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, Leicestershire, Rutland and Lincolnshire. And we would be in the town category. It's all based on the population size of Oundle. If we do enter it, then we would take the judges on a 2.5-hour tour around Oundle to show them what we've been doing. Things like litter picking, things like the planters, things like Fletton Field. So we would basically want to show them that the community is involved with making Oundle look good and that it involves elements of the community like schools, like the Old People's Association, generally involving everybody. So we've got until the end of April to decide whether or not we enter Britain in Bloom. But everything we're doing now, we've got a 2-year window to actually enter. So if we decide to enter in 2024, everything we're doing in 2023 and now will help towards that. There are special floral awards if our commercial businesses want to get involved, like the pubs and businesses on the high street, etc. There's also school awards. There are various competitions that schools can enter. So even if we don't enter in 2023, what I have done is put in a grant application to the Town Council for £800, and that's basically to look at the perhaps getting a wooden planter for the town entrance by the North Bridge, also to provide plants, possibly put a multi-stem tree at the entrance as you enter Oundle, basically to make it look a lot nicer as you come in off that big 605 roundabout. So that's one of the grants. We're also putting in a grant to the Augean Revenue and Small Grants Fund. That will be a joint grant with the Flettonfield Association, because we want to plant an orchard if the Flettonfield project continues to move forward. I'm also waiting for the NNC Community Grants and Funding to open, but it hasn't opened yet. And then if we do enter Britain in Bloom, we can also ask for a grant from them to help towards the competition. And I've made a presentation to the Oundle Business Association as well, to ask them if they would like to contribute to what we do. So this is what we're planning to do. We're planning to put a wooden planter at the entrance to the bridge, to the North Bridge, and some additional planters. For instance, we could put one near the Waitrose bus stop, because it's quite a big area there to fill. Under the Flettonfield sign, that's actually been done. We've done that one. And at the top of West Street is looking a bit bleak, a bit empty, so we thought we'd put some barrels up there. And we've got to work out the details for this, but we're thinking of running a hanging basket competition for the schools, for the children to actually plant up the baskets, and then we'll decide where we're going to hang them in next year. And these are some of the planters, some of the things we could buy if we have the funds. These are self-watering planters. They have reservoirs in the bottom, which make them a lot easier to actually manage. Sorry, just skipped. But also we're recycling some planters from places like the Olive Grove. So we're kind of taking some of their planters that the olive trees are delivered in. We clean them up, and these are also going out in the town. Not as nice as wooden barrels, but when you've got ivy trailing over them, you don't actually see the planter that they're in. And they're very reasonably priced. So what we would like to do going forward really is to get more involvement from the community. So, as I said, I spoke to the Oundle Business Association. I've got a presentation to make to the Horticultural Society in December to get them more involved. At the moment, they're not involved with us. I've been asked by Oundle School to put forward a project plan to them to see if we can get some money from them. And I've also made a contact with the Yarn Bombers to see what they might want to do next year for Oundle, with it being the coronation of Prince Charles. So we'll see what happens there. But we're also looking at resources. So we're also looking for growing spaces, any greenhouses, any tunnels, any other tools and things that we can use. It's not always about money. Sometimes it's just about space to grow things, because we are a bunch of volunteers. You know, we are doing this in our own gardens and greenhouses if we have them. Not everybody has them, so we're doing the best we can with what we've got. And as I said, we're also applying for funds. So we're not just asking the town council, we're kind of spreading the net. So what we're doing now is maintaining the current planters. In 2023, we want to add more planters and baskets and support Flettonfield, and then probably in 2024 we'll enter Britain in Bloom. And this is like a budget that to show everything that we might look at, but I'm not going to go into the detail of this, but we are looking at costs, and wherever we can, we're trying to buy more efficiently. For instance, we went to the Spalding plant auctions this time. It's great to use the local businesses, but sometimes we're more of a, I wouldn't say a nuisance, but for the Barnes Garden Centre to put 100 plants on one side for us and not let people buy them, it gets quite difficult for Barn or Tandy or wherever we buy them from. So that's Blooming Erdal, that's an update. So if you've got any questions, I'm quite happy to take.
Any questions, Ruben?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I must say, I'm generally impressed. You have a very clear plan, which you summarised well, I think. Well, quite clearly, you will operate within your means. You modestly describe yourselves as a bunch of volunteers. Could you just indicate how many, roughly how you're organised, like chairman, secretary, treasurer, and such like?
There's probably 20, I'd say, core volunteers. There's sometimes 30 if we do litter picking exercises. We don't have a formal structure in terms of I'm the chair, and then we have people who are in charge of, for instance, litter picking. Or we have a group of people who are our ideas people like Paul Evely, Ali Windle, but we don't have a formal structure. We're not a secretary, treasurer, etc. All our finances are managed either by myself and by Paul Evely. So whenever an invoice is generated, it will come to me. Usually I've generated it, or it might come from the library, or it might come from one of our volunteers. I'll approve it and then send it to Tony Hoyle and Paul Evely to authorise payments.
Just one supplementary question. It's fairly clear to me, it would be helpful if you could confirm that all of you live either in or very near Arundel.
Yes.
So you're well rooted in the community.
Yes.
Thanks. No further questions from me.
Thank you very much, David.
So comprehensive.
It was very much.
No questions. Only one question is, and it's come up in this chamber a few times,
The other side of the river is an hour. So is there a problem with, have you been in touch with Ashton?
The other side of the river
Not the other side of North Bridge.
is
It's outside outside us as a council area.
I think, well, that's why I got in touch with them to ask them what they were planning to do, for instance, with the riverside. Sorry, I'm not clear what you mean.
The river is the boundary
Yes.
between us and
Ashton, yeah.
Yeah, so everything the other side, that was right.
Yeah, in fact, it's almost like the middle of the
The middle of the
river,
river, it's the middle of the bridge.
splits
where
by
Arundel starts.
Oundle and Ashton. So anything at the far outside of the bridge is actually Ashton Parish Council.
Is that actually right? Because I heard that for instance, the rate or the council tax from Waxton Drive comes to Oundle.
No,
not
it
to Ashton.
doesn't, it goes to Ashton.
Wish it did.
Yeah.
We've been trying.
However, it's clear to me that the bulk of your operations will be in Arundel.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is, whether it's Oundle or Ashton, when you come off that 605 roundabout, the first thing you see is that horrible derelict building,
Yeah.
all the weeds, all the buglia, and I believe that the parking area is owned by NNC. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Whoever owns it, nobody's actually going to step up and do anything about it unless we do, and that's what we're proposing that we do. That's what we would really like to do, to put a really nice wooden planter there, nice trees, flowers, etc., to take the emphasis off what it currently looks like, because it really is an eyesore.
No, I don't think many people would disagree.
No.
It's probably worth just contacting Ashton. Have we have contact with Ashton?
I have got a clerk, there is a clerk now, Ashton.
Maybe.
Yeah, so could let you.
I have been in touch with them, and what I asking them about what they were going to do with it, and I've been in touch with the lady at NNC, the highways.
Oh, yes, Sarah Balmer, yeah.
Yes, to say to show where we would like to put, and I've heard nothing back. That's not surprising, because when we put our original planters out, like the ones in the marketplace, we never heard anything back. We never actually got permission, but then again, we never got a denial. We
Indeed.
can't do it, so we're kind of assume if they don't get back to us and say no, we'll
They,
go
they
ahead.
have changed their email address recently.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
you got her new
I've got
email.
their new
Yeah.
email, yeah, it bounced back, so I had a look for it.
It's unusual.
She's normally pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll send another email through, because I've put all of the new planter positions
Yeah,
on a
because
map.
I've got it, because I've got it on full council for next week.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
I'll chase them up.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for everything you've done,
allowing me to convene.
crucifying everything. We'll discuss the grant application as it comes up in the agenda. Thank you very much for your time and good.
Thank you. Thank you for the letter, which I circulated to our members,
Marvellous.
which they appreciate.
That's only right. Right, thank you very much indeed. 2218, consideration of requests from interested parties. Anything at all? Emma, have we got anything from interested parties?
No, sorry.
That's fine. So 2219 minutes of the previous meeting to approve and sign the minutes as per. A quick look through the only things that came to mind, the debtors list. I can't remember what the questions were. There were some questions on the debtors list.
From you, I think, can I answer them?
They were from Liz.
The one that I'm really still chasing and have done again today is the GigaClear one.
Yeah.
I
I don't think that was the question, though.
No, I think I had a quick look at it just now, whether it's Northbourne, Hampsworth or something else. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that's fine. If we chase them up, we can chase them up
Yeah,
later.
probably.
And then the appraisal system, I suppose, probably a second
Yes,
next one.
yeah.
Okay. So are we okay for me to sign the minutes as they stand? David, are we okay? Yeah. Brilliant. So Rupert as a proposer,
Yeah.
I'll sign them. Right, initial that change. Thank you very much indeed. Twenty-two 2001 to receive the accounts for October 2022. No question. We've got Paul here. Are there any questions about the accounts as they stand? And a quick look at the debtors list. I think I'm relatively intelligent, but I look at these and I think, which first period is beginning of the year or end of the year?
Most current is December.
Right, so that's the balance.
Yeah.
So North Hants is North Hants Council, is that rent for the room downstairs or is that something else? And then there's Northamptonshire County. I wasn't sure. Whether that's sounds like a registrar.
Registrar is for
Yeah.
him. Was,
The weddings.
Yeah, the weddings. They theoretically pay quarterly, and it's a case of finding who to chase.
But that's not from pre-Northants.
No,
That's more-
No.
Okay, that's fine. And the school one, the annual school one, that's presumably
That's
part of
the,
the payback.
that's the CCTV,
That's right.
which I think is being discussed. isn't it?
Well, it was, but then it all went quiet. So I don't, and then they paid last year, didn't they?
They've always paid.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've not
Chasing
had
Do we
anybody.
know anyone at the school we can do with?
whether I'm allowed to do it. Let's have a chat afterwards and see who
Yeah.
has the first approaches. Anything, Rupert, David? Any questions? No further questions? So are we just receiving those?
Yes.
Lovely. 22-2002 to reconsider the town rowing club grant application in light of my site visit. Sounds very exciting. I must admit, I knew where the rowing club was, but I didn't know how big it was. I was amazed when I went down there. It's off the road towards Barnwell. I was there on a Saturday morning when they were doing full club training, and there must have been 70 people, all ages, many of whom I recognise from around the town. Most of their members have now, not all, but most. And they've got as full a range as they can of youth activities, trying to get young people into rowing, etc. It's an amazing facility. Clearly they've got a parking issue based around the fact that the house itself, the boathouse, is 2-storey, quite modern, and it's sort of on the riverside. And then there's a gap through to a jetty where they launch, and then there's a slope coming up, and it's steep and it's grassy. And it was okay a month ago, but in the middle of winter it wouldn't be great. So their application is to help for matting for the parking area. So yeah, I was impressed. I was impressed by what they were trying to do, and I think they would probably quite like some support to use our social media channels. They're on Love Oundle, but they said that actually having a stand at the Jubilee was really good for drawing up membership. So we said that's something they could keep doing on a regular basis, keep in contact with us through comms, etc. Because I would imagine a lot of people in town were a bit like me and didn't know it was there, and it was quite as big and shiny as. I mean, they've got a lot of boats and a lot of people that know what they do, and they've got good links with Bedford, and they compete. So it's proper sweet ball rowing. So I was impressed, and as I said, it was much bigger than I imagined. They put a grant application in, which we have here, the second iteration of with all the numbers on. They've put a big number down there of quite a large amount of money. Their view is they would be grateful for anything, and they can do it in chunks, like the football club have been doing. And they don't need, well, they can't really lay it until February or May, because that's when the grass grows through it. So we sort of have time on our hands. I thought, rather than looking at the whole number there of 5,300, if we looked at, for example, 1,000, this stint, this tranche, see what they do with it, see what they could raise, that would be a nod in the right direction. And then maybe next year or later in the year, if we suddenly win lots of raffles and stuff, we might have another look again. David?
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 was actually the same figure that I had in mind. On the basis that we've actually supported the football club in the town very well. And I think we should be careful trying to encourage all the sports clubs that are kind of independent, if you like. And so I think providing them with some funds is certainly appropriate. The whole thing would be too much for our budget.
That would destroy the budget.
But I'm all in favour of providing them with some funds and perhaps inviting them to make a further application, maybe in the spring. Once we're into the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they understand that. I think they gave us all the information at once, but it doesn't need to be all at once, which is good, because something will improve their situation. Rupert?
I agree with both you and David. It so happens, I've been there several times in the previous years, and my wife has done some rowing there.
Excellent.
So I think our approach is sound. The Henry Kissinger approach, tranche by tranche, and see what they make of it.
Salami style. Yes, excellent. So I'm happy to propose that we supply them with a grant. Oh, before we do, Paul, have we got an up-to-date grant budget? Have a quick look and at your fingertips. So sort of have in my mind, we've got a bit of money in the pot this year.
We have, yeah, it's about another 7,000, just under 7 at the moment.
Right. So we've got this, and then an £800 grant application from Blooming Oundle. So that would leave us with 5.5.
Which should be spent, yeah.
So I'm happy to propose £1,000. Right, if that's okay. David's happy to say that it. Ruth voted for it, so that's approved. Thank you very much indeed. 22-2003, to consider a grant application from Blooming Owl. We've just seen the presentation, which was awesome and impressive. They're looking at a grant application of 800, and with that sort of strategy of a year building up to Blooming Britain and Bloom, there we go. That seemed like a logical strategy. So, do you like it?
I did like it. I think anything that sort of improves the appearance of the town is likely to bring more people into the town, be they residents or be they people who live close by or even perhaps tourists. And if it makes a good impression, with luck they come back. So I liked what I sort of saw and heard, and it's a relatively modest sum. And so I suggest that we do back it this time, and let's see how we get on, and we might be sympathetic again next year. So if they're aiming higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Rupert?
I agree.
Excellent. Well, I'm happy to propose that we pay the grant application of 800. Seconded by David. Rupert? Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. 22-2004. This is a document that I put forward, I suppose. Cost of living. It's something that we're aware of in the news. Lots of large companies, etc., are doing it. They're large, etc. At our last meeting, we thought we now have a pot of about £1,200 in one of our budget areas that isn't going to be used. And I suddenly thought maybe we should look at seeing if we should offer that up as a small cost of living payment, given the pressure that people are under over the year. Rupert, David, any thoughts?
In fact, when you emailed round, I responded to saying I agree. After all, we're a very small staff, well led by Emma. Promotion prospects once in generations. So obviously we want to keep our staff and show our appreciation, especially in these hard times.
David?
Yeah, I agree certainly with all of that. I'm slightly torn between this idea of supporting those who are the least well off on our staff and equally trying to be even-handed about it. I think just on balance,
it's difficult.
I do actually come down on the sort of even-handed approach because it's a team. And I think it's invidious if you're looking at a team to then single out, because inevitably put the clerk in a different position, and sort of single somebody out and say, well, actually, I'm doing better than some. So I think an across-the-board figure. I'd be inclined to simply use the specific underspend that's available rather than necessarily supplementing it from anywhere else. But I'm more than happy to do that.
Rupert, your thoughts?
I agree. In particular with David, even-handed. Because after all, relatively greater responsibilities are reflected in the basic salaries already.
No, that's fine. I thought it was an invidious choice, so I'll put them both in there. We'll talk about it tonight, and that's absolutely fine. So we need to decide, I suppose. Do we propose we make?
What are you doing? Proposing an amount per person?
An amount of £150
Per person.
That's correct? Yeah. Okay. So I'm happy to propose that we make a one-off cost of living payment as soon as possible, I suppose. Which is a sum of £150 per staff member.
Yes, and it will
Thank you.
presumably be possible to do that in the November pay run, which then means that everybody's got it in their pockets before the expensive Christmas period arrives.
So anything else? So I'm happy to propose it. Seconded. Rupert's voted, so there we are. Thank you very much indeed, everyone.
Okay.
Consider the budget for 2023-24. they thought I didn't look at it enough and I talked to them too often, so I looked at it again in the last couple of weeks. And I sent this document round to the councillors just to say this is what I was thinking. And you replied, I'm not sure, David, what your thoughts are. But I sort of worked on some assumptions, and I know Liz had asked you to look at various columns of 5%, 7.5%, 10% increases, etc. And so I was working on a couple of assumptions. Can I just clarify something? I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later. The documents we've had through in the last couple of weeks, about a couple of days, about the 2022-23 payment, the most recent budget, that includes those, doesn't it?
Yes,
So if we're looking at,
it does in terms of projected.
that's fine. So if we're looking at percentage increase of that number,
So that number includes the additional money that's going to come through
I thought that was just checking.
from the 5% to 2.5% or 7.5% included.
And because we've only just worked out this year's
Yeah.
pay rise,
Literally
there's no inclination about what next year's.
No.
So the assumptions I put in, and I don't know what you'd like to do, but I thought we should at least assume that salaries may rise by 7.5%. That's an improvement into the budget at this point. Because then if it's less than that, then the budget's in good. I can't see it going to be more. So I think that might be overly generous, but I thought it's better at this point to err on the side of generosity. I thought we should probably assume that income was down a bit, given that there's a couple of free courthouse offices at the moment. Now it might change.
And also most of the income is finite in terms of they're already on a 3-year lease anyway.
Absolutely. So I thought that might dip the income a little bit.
Yeah.
And obviously at one point in the budget, we've got 5,000 for the preschool downstairs, which
Yes.
won't be coming
No.
in. So I've normally said we should allow 1,500 for that space, which means we're getting some income, but it won't be the same. Now, if it is the same, then happy days. But I thought at this point that was reasonable. Use some numbers if you want. And the grant income for the hub looks hard to find as we're at council, unless you're the same, of course, unleashes vast pots of money from somewhere, which probably. So those are some income assumptions, and also worst case scenario. I thought, given we're coming out of contract in June next year for electricity and gas, we should probably assume that our electricity and gas budget double next year, which is an arse hit. I've roughly estimated with 27,000 this year, 54,000 next year. It may not be that bad. We've got a couple of months when we're still on this contract, but again, it's better to have more in there than less. What do we think of those assumptions as starting points?
It would seem reasonable. Indeed, if anything, I would have said that the idea that the energy budget will only double might be being optimistic.
I suppose I was hoping that by June, by renegotiating the summer rather than winter, that might give us a better bet. Maybe
It's all
it's all
speculation.
guesstimate.
It's very
Yeah.
speculative.
But then we've got April, May, and the present, which gives us a little bit more of a buffer, I suppose.
So did you want me to put all energy up by 50%?
I think that seems at least a minimum. And hopefully it'll be wonderful and less, and we'll have money cascading down the walls, but I suspect we won't.
Yeah.
The
The majority of income you want to retain as they are.
I think so, yeah.
What was that?
The majority of income retain as it
Yeah.
is, rather than put a percentage in instead, which I think is well done anyway.
I think largely so. I think some work will put up, but rather boringly, I went through the whole thing and I've changed some numbers based on some of those assumptions. And I've also played with some other assumptions. One of them is we keep the hub open as is. We make sure that's funded roughly as is at the moment. We've got a walls budget, which we spent quite a lot of this year. All of. But there's a wall in the cemetery that's going to come
Yeah.
quite soon, so we need to keep something in there for that. Grants budget, I think it's been really good seeing grant applications. You had the idea last year of upping it a bit. I think we should keep it high. Ideally increase it, but I'm not sure we've got the headroom
Yes,
to do that.
I think it's difficult this year, because I had the thought, to make it more explicitly sports as well. In other words, we specifically mention sports to encourage the sort of support that we've been given, but in the present climate, I don't think you could actually increase that. I mean, you could change the name, but I don't think it's really increase the amounts that we're going to precept for in order to pay out larger grants, or arguably people who need them more. And I think it's difficult.
Just on that basis, yeah, I think keeping it as it is a good ambition there. And Fleck Field, one of the interesting questions that came out of that conference thing we were on two weeks ago,
Yeah,
seemed like it's actually a long time, is whether we could use precept money to buy things, or whether we have to use reserve. We have to use reserve money to buy things like fields and stuff, don't we? Is that right? So we don't need to allow Fleck Field in the budget, as it were. Was that my understanding? Someone sort of
yeah.
said something.
If you are going to purchase something, that's quite expensive, you do have to consult with people of the town before you decide to put your precept up by that amount.
They were mainly talking leisure centres.
Mm.
A lot of talking leisure
Yeah, like when
centres.
if you're talking about like spending 500,000, I mean, I don't think there aren't many councils that would put their precept at 500,000 unless you're a really large council. You'd be looking at getting a loan, but yeah, you'd have to go out for consultation before you can apply for it.
So we should probably just assume that we'll pay for it in reserves.
Yeah, it's just
We'll
getting near at that
pound-
time.
a
It's
pound
just,
from reserves.
We did set some money aside for it.
yeah, but then we reallocated that 70,
Escape plan.
yeah, that's
95,208.
yeah, that's been allocated to the skate park.
Okay.
That's section 106.
Yeah,
And
Don't
then,
you consider more section 106 money during the next year? Given the levels of development that are going on.
the Persimmon and the Cotterstock one have already been sorted. Cotterstock is that sort of cycleway pathway. Persimmon, I'm not sure whether we're getting anything from that.
I'm not sure because it all went through pretty much on the night, I think.
Yeah,
We didn't really get asked very much.
Don't get me started in that sector, as we've been here all night.
I mean, just on that assumption though, presumably, and I don't know how we work this out, at some point in the next 23, 24, new houses will be coming on stream. Some of the Cotterstock Road ones say they're going to be in by November. Not sure when in November, but presumably we can't estimate.
no, I did inquire about that because before Liz left, I had a conversation with her because she was also speaking on behalf of Blackthorn, because it would have more of an impact for Blackthorn than it possibly would for us. And they, even though people start paying council tax immediately, they don't immediately add that to the tax base. So, and the numbers, I don't know when they do that. They have to wait till it goes to land registry, I think, or something.
The valuation office.
Yeah.
So they could take.
And basically, they couldn't answer the question as to when it would actually happen.
I think when we're having our budgeting session next year, we can probably.
Yeah, you'll probably see something
It's
there.
not going to be this.
No.
No, that's fine. So, as I said, I've duly gone through line by line and made some suggestions. Is it worth suggesting those and putting them up on
Yeah, I think so.
the play one and see where we
Yeah.
come up? So I'm starting in income.
Do you want to have this as a new column, or are you excluding the 5%, 7.5%, 10%?
I messed around with some. I'm suggesting
Yeah.
some at 5, some at
Sure
7.5,
budget.
some at 0. Or something like that.
So do you want to keep it, do you want to put it into this one, or do you want a new column for it?
It's up to you, whether you, because you'll have to pick up the pieces.
That's fine.
With it.
This will keep that on as the proposed budget, I'm happy with that.
Okay.
And this is just OTC, you're not doing QBH tonight.
Just so you see it. So I suggested on the figures, at the moment we've got rent for the market up there at 10,382.40.
Yeah.
I suggested keeping it at what it is this year, just assuming that it won't necessarily go up. Again, being conservative. Christmas markets, so we could do 9,000, but I don't think that's realistic or not. That's what you predicted. And so
So the theory is it's going to be cost neutral, whatever we bring in, we expend, and we want to expand it, so yeah, 9,000.
farmers market rent, I went with the same as market rent, so 6,180 rather than 6,489. The hub, you've got as an income of 5,000 for this year. For the moment, I put that down to 0 because I don't think we're going to get the grants we hope for. But I think carrying on with the hub as it is a goodly experiment.
Yeah.
So if we can find a way of making that better, great. But I don't think we can assume we're going to get 5,000. And then I put against the hub room hire 1,500, only because that would be the preschool area downstairs. But I don't know whether you want to put it in that column or the preschool column or where.
Did
But
you
this
have
is-
another column?
We do, that's Blackthorn alone.
That,
The
okay.
preschool's a different thing.
But the line 4,700 hub room hire, I put 1,500 in that.
Sorry, that one, yeah. So I haven't sure if that one's
1,500.
1,500. Also just a different thing. But you're talking about the Blackthorn.
Blackthorn room, that's like large, but I don't know what. What do you mean? So you've got 10,544 there. Let's just leave that in for the moment, I think. Barnwell room, I said keep it where we are this year at 500. Again, these worst case scenarios, as it were. Cotterstock, we've got a budget of 1,200. The projection you've got here is 506.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it's worth just transferring 506 across. Again, worst case scenario. Yet more than that. Right, or do you want to keep it as a income?
To a budget.
Any thoughts?
600.
600, let's go 600. The Amble Suite, we've got it in this year at 4,000. I thought maybe keep it at 4,000 rather than assuming a 5% increase. The studio, again, we've got a budget this year of 12,000, but the projected income is 8,862. So I was wondering whether it's worth keeping it maybe 9,000 rather than going to 12, just to keep it realistic.
Yeah.
So that's the income, I think. Oh no, and there's more income. Different page. I think I've got this right. I could be wrong. At the moment, office unit 2 and 3 for the courthouse are the ones that are empty, aren't they? I know one of them's being.
Yeah, 2 are being filled, which are,
I've got
is
8.
it 8 and 3?
Okay, so let's transfer 8 and 3 across, but then leave 2 blank.
So leave 2.
So leave 2 at 0. Just for the moment.
Yeah.
Worst case
Did I see
scenario.
preschool on there?
Yeah, that's coming in a minute.
Yeah.
Number preschool was okay, that's
I
one
think
of it.
it's really that to be 0, don't we?
Because although we could potentially get some room hire
We
from
said
it.
Preschool 1,500.
That's the one in the hub room hire. Because
Oh,
we're going to
so-
hire it out as sort of the hub.
Yeah.
arrangement.
Mm.
It might end up being different places. We can change the names. We've done that. We've got recreation ground hire. Is that the circus and stuff like that?
Yes.
I was wondering if we should, it comes up in the States quite a lot, whether we should start charging £50 to use it as a car park.
Mm.
And whether we should just increase that to 500 rather than 300. I think I was getting desperate. for that.
Is that when the fair is? Yeah, it's for the fair.
Generally,
have we
I
had a
think a couple of
circus as
times a
well?
year. Sorry,
Did we have a circus?
We did have one. I
Recently?
seem to remember driving past it.
So I just wondered whether if we aim to make that 500, we could try and just get a little bit of extra income out of it,
Mhm.
maybe, just as a thought. I got a bit confused, the income from the town trail, which I think was about £60, but I wasn't sure why.
because we sell certain books via.
Okay, so if we sell those, that's fine.
Yeah,
we
it's
give
sold at the
half
book,
of it to the museum.
bookshop, the museum have them.
Yeah.
They're a
Yeah.
pound.
So we'll go 60 because we're going to get 200 this year, but that's only 60. And then postage and photocopy, is that income from other people? Do
That's been income from primarily
we-
VA.
Yeah.
VA.
Okay, so
We no
maybe
longer have a franking
They-
machine for it.
They print their
That's
newsletters and things. Yeah.
So do you want to keep that at 100 then, or is that?
Well, they don't use the franking machine
The
anymore. 'cause we
franking
haven't got
machine
it.
now gone, that's why I dropped it to
Yes,
£100.
that's fine. And then grants and sponsorships from section 106.
That's never guaranteed any grant you can.
So is
Are
that
you
working?
anticipating getting any?
Not from section 106, but hopefully once we hear about the planning app for the skate park, I could start applying.
So
Yeah.
leave-
But I can't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
1,000, 10,000?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping I'm probably going to get about.
But then the skate park's not an income item down here, it's an expenditure item.
No, but then whatever grant we would get would be. But I'm hoping I'm going to somehow get up to about 70,000.
No pressure.
I know.
Do you want that in?
Don't put that in. No, no.
Let's just leave it at 1,000.
Yeah.
Then I've got down to expenditure, I've got market, litter and picking and setup costs. Effectively, we brought that in-house, haven't
This was Kev,
we?
Mm.
and then there was an offer from someone else who would do it.
Yeah, but
I've given
I
his number.
Conversation with Deborah today, and I was just asked because she does a little bit of litter picking. We've just heard that Blooming Oundle do litter picking, so I think they've got the bulk of our litter picking equipment.
We've got this DLE board doing it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether I haven't seen a huge increase in litter. So,
No, so I was thinking for, if we left that 2625, 2500 or 2625 this year as zero, then that's a way we could
Yeah.
drop the expenditure.
yeah,
Because we've got other maintenance spots elsewhere, and as you say, there are teams around the place.
Yeah.
that do it.
and I think if we'd seen a huge increase, then we probably would need to think about doing it. But
And what about markets and farmers markets?
our maintenance team are covering that.
So we've got cemetery repairs and maintenance. And I know
Comes one other thing, what about general rates? You're anticipating those to,
I thought leave those as you've got them.
okay, yeah.
So these are just changes. I thought we've got no idea whether it'll be 5% or 10%.
I think that legislation still there, it's still to go on about 3%, but that's all.
I think so, yeah. So I think that's
Is that-
fairly limited, yeah.
I think it's going to be applicable over the past little while. Some of them, sometimes have almost doubled in a year
On property.
on our rates, yeah.
I suppose we can maybe dig around with NNC, but it's that hitting and moving target thing, isn't it? We don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, we don't tend to know that not until March, do we?
No.
And by then we have to have this all in.
So 5% seems a reasonable assumption on that. For cemetery repairs and maintenance, we've got up there 11,550. I think I've added the 10,000 for the cemetery wall to make that 22,100. But I'm not sure where the money is later down. Maybe that drops off somewhere. Cemetery wardens, we started that this year. I don't think we've really spent any money at all. We probably need to spend some money on markers and signs and stuff soon. So I've put 2.5 in for that. I think we can probably reduce that if we need to. Churchyard R&M, hopefully the walls will last for a while. So we should do. I've knocked that down to 5,000 rather than 10,000. St Osside's car park lighting. I'm assuming that's electricity largely.
Yeah.
So I'll double that, 6238. The public conveniences, I'll double that, 2356. I've assumed on cleaning costs. How do we pay the contract on cleaning? Is it fixed or is it year on year? Because
They haven't put it up for a long time.
Do we need to assume cleaning costs? Because they're
Probably
wages.
thinking about putting that up to 2%.
That's exactly what I've done. So I've done cleaning at 10% increases just in case. So I think that's 598224. So
So,
it's an Ossize cleaning rate.
so which one are we on now?
Line 51.
51, how much do you have in that sense?
598224.
Okay.
Recreation youth activities, we've got 1,000. I put it at 5,000 because on the States we'll be talking about more. What's the play stuff we've had? Inclusive play equipment. Now, I don't think we've actually discussed whether we need it yet, but I thought let's put it at the stage we can remove it if the bottom line is too nasty. I then changed Eastwood Road Electric.
Yeah.
I put that to, oh yes, now this is where I was bold. I started thinking if we did move Eastwood Road up here somehow, we can talk about that next week, we might make, well, £12,500 of savings here. And we might allow an extra amount of electricity on this place. But I don't know what our thoughts are. Presumably we need to discuss that in full council.
Yeah. I think that's going to take us a little while to consider.
Leave it
Okay.
Mm.
as per the original draft.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I'll put it
For
in.
now, it's
Yeah, I put it in for exactly that reason. St Christopher's Drive R&M, I just thought in as many areas we could zero rate things, so not put them up. That would be good. So that's £1,000 this year for St Christopher's Drive R&M. I thought we'd keep that. Jones Strong R&M, we've spent 590 this year and we've got 15,000 in the budget. But a lot of that was to do with the heating equipment and stuff, wasn't it? Which we know we don't need to do.
Mhm.
So I've suggested at the moment leaving that at 500.
Okay, yeah.
Grants, QVH,
QVH will work itself out when you do the QVH budget.
fine.
Yeah.
Tree Works, I keep saying, as long as we
Are you keeping the grants the same or
I think at the moment, yeah.
the same as this year?
Oh, community grants. Yes, same as this year, I think. So we'd like to increase them.
Well, actually, if we're talking about grants, we do give a regular grant to volunteer action.
We do, does that come out of the grants budget, I think, does it?
Mm.
So that would be part of that grant.
It struck me, it would help them, as they're making superlative efforts to help themselves. If we kept open the option of upping the grant we give them next year.
What, do we give one every year?
No,
We
this is
had
something
application this year.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't.
But if we keep the grants budget where it is for the moment, then at least that's an option.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't given them a grant
Yes.
since 2013.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
So they can certainly have an increase on this year.
Double your
Yes. To £10.
Since the chairman sends me regular reports of his trustees meetings,
Excellent.
he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he understands business management and finance.
Good. Come and do something for us. Trees, I just think we keep going to have to keep dealing with trees.
Yeah, it's difficult to
So
know.
we could easily make that
Yeah.
a smaller number. So I've put that up to 6,000. I
Yeah.
think we've spent this year, but that's what this year's budget is, 6,000. I'm
In
sure
2022, it's currently on 12,800.
Yeah, there won't be many trees that we haven't touched in the last 2 years, I'm sure. So I thought at least leave it at this year's budget rather than reduce it.
So
6,000 for the moment. Community environment, we've got environment community, sorry, I thought the zero rate that at 1,000, again, we can always drop that if we had to. And highways verges, again, I don't know how does this work, I assume fuel costs might come into it.
That's our contractor.
But is that fixed, or does that get
Again, they haven't put it up.
They didn't put it in last year or this year.
No,
Everything's going up, it's transporting everything, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would imagine that they would have to start considering
So
putting that up.
that'd be 10,027. 10%.
Do you have that income that we get back from NNC in the income?
Yes, that invoice goes out this month.
So I'll get down to maintenance. I've got consumables.
Yeah.
I've increased it by 10% to £58.36, which wasn't a very exciting increase, but it followed the flow of things going up by 10%. And then I zero rated clothing and materials just because at the moment we're projected not to spend on the budget quite a lot. So
They do, we do replace fleeces and,
Yeah, no, absolutely. At the moment, we've got £200 in the budget, and we've spent nothing on clothing, so we'll keep 200.
yeah, that's, yeah.
And at the moment, we've got 500 in the budget. We spent 180, so we'll keep that at 500 rather than increasing it. Fuel for maintenance.
500, yeah.
I presume we're going to go up by at least 10% if we're going to go further to get it, which is the double whammy now. But that works out at 1,760.
1760.
Absolutely. And equipment, if we can zero rate that at 1060 right this year.
Equipment.
Yeah, maintenance equipment. We've only spent 500. No, the scary ones.
What, maintenance, no equipment?
No, zero rate the increase. So just keep it
Oh.
at 0% increase.
All right, yeah, sorry, because I
So I thought it
thought I got a
was-
zero in there and I was
My,
just,
my contact lens is really good at distance. And I can make them read, but I can't go back to distance. But so I'm glad you're keeping that. Courthouse gas, at the moment, we're budgeting 2.5, allowing for the increase that we might have, and 50%. That makes that 5,250.
it's awful.
To turn all the heating down everywhere. My classroom's very cold at the moment. Courthouse electricity, that goes up to 16,222. This is when moving £10 here and there, it's like the deck chairs on the Titanic, rather.
Yeah.
Courthouse R&M, I thought let's keep that at 5,000. It'd be nice to reduce all these, but we can't assume that nothing's going to break. I assumed window and gutter cleaning. Is that going to go up with wages and things like that?
Again, that hasn't gone up for about 5 years.
So put it up by 10%, because that seems to be what we're doing.
Yeah.
These things.
I put it up by 7.5. I thought we're trying to save money there. That makes it 2,166. Courthouse cleaning, again, 10%.
Same.
Yeah, 3,734. Litter bins, 400. Let's keep that 0%. And then I think I've got all the salaries right at 7.5% on those. Do you want me to go through them, or do you want to calculate them all?
So do you want?
What have you got for grade 35? I've got 43,733 as this year, is that right?
Is that when you'd make it 7.5%, 44774? Yeah,
44608 I've got, so I'm just under, that's my.
But you probably haven't got that increase.
I have got some of it, but obviously
Yeah.
not all. So you go with your 7.5% on top.
so it's down to.
Because that's outside our control, but it seems pretty sorted.
And that one.
And then I presume NI contribution, pension, they're all going up by about the same percent. Hub staff, is that?
Get more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two, I think. And then we go to some nitty gritty. Telephone. I thought keep it at this year's budget, 3,090. Are we on the digital telephone system? Is that going to, so it was pretty, that shouldn't go up, should it?
I don't think so.
Silicon chips don't
Shouldn't
cost
go
that much. I was thinking they actually, there aren't the extra costs. So,
Well, I mean, the only thing I can think of is if we have to buy another phone or something, but
I've just kept that at 0.
yeah.
And then I've done the same for much of this column. So stationery I've kept at 300, which is this year's budget. Postage at 200, which is this year's budget. Photocopying, you see, very frugal. Very frugal.
Very low for-
Everything's by email.
Postage. Everything goes by email, as Ian said.
Yeah,
We don't have a franking machine anymore.
I post about, well,
I don't post anything.
That's probably all.
I posted the card to Paul King's family and the letter. Can't remember anything else. We do sometimes have to post to solicitor, but I tend to, because I'm near there, I tend to drop it off myself. So very little postage.
Photocopying and scanning. This year we've got in the budget 704, but we're projecting a spend of 1645.
That's what's happened in 2020 at 640, 21 was 1200, 2022 was 1300.
So is that just we print more stuff, we print less stuff? Or is there a particular
We printed a lot of stuff off for the Jubilee. We did a lot of stuff for that.
So do you want to keep it around 1600 or should we
We do a lot of the photocopying for VA, and then we get the money back through income.
So should we keep that at 1600?
Yeah.
Just to reflect what we've done this year.
I mean, ideally, it'd be nice to get it down
Yeah.
and keep reducing.
But again, this is sort of worst case. isn't it?
Yeah.
So if we can get it down, happy days. Same with all the electricity and heating. Comms and L website notice boards. We've got 2,000 in the budget for this year. We've spent 848 projected. So I thought keep it at 2,000 and see if we can tweak it down again. Insurance, I did it at 7.5, but
I've because our 3 years is up with our current broker. I've started going out to get the quotes. I've got one come in. I haven't got the one from our current, but it's looking at around about 17,000.
well, we've got, at the moment, we've got 17.5 in the budget. We've increased it, and I increased it again by a bit more to make it 18.8. Should we go 18 then?
And our home insurance has been quoted an increase of 25%, and that seems to be the average.
Don't go to your home insurance.
Okay.
But if you've got a figure that's about 17.
Yeah, that's the first figure, and I'm just waiting for our current one, and I'm just sort of trying to find a third.
18.5.
18.5.
18.5, just in case we see where we are. Subs conference fees. We've got 3,000 in the budget. I put 3,150. It's a 5% increase. I'm not sure why.
This year it's 2,000, just under 2,500, and it's generally 3,003, 2009, 2005.
So I got it at 3,150 for a reason, but I'm not sure what the reason is. What do we think? Keep it at 3 or a little bit more?
A bit more perhaps.
So 3,150 is, I think, 5%.
Yeah.
Travelling expenses, keep that at 500 rather than 550. Mayor's expenses, keep it 750, not 787. Meeting expenses, we've got 515 this year, so keep it at that, I think. Staff training, we've got at 2.4, but keep it at 2.4 rather than increasing. Recruitment, publicity and advertising, is that Jubilee and stuff this year?
Would have been, yeah.
So with the coronation, keep that at
Is it the advertiser as well?
so
So that's, we've got in the budget last year 1,800, we spent 3,300 so far projected. Do we keep it around 1,800, 2,000, or do we go for 3.5? Coronation's a coronation.
You're bound to spend some money on coronation.
Yeah. I mean, we can always drop it down a bit later.
3,000.
3,000, that seems reasonable. Bank charges, we've got 700 in the budget, we've spent 288 so far, so let's keep it at 700 maybe.
700. That was,
Then we've got bad debt. I thought,
hopefully there won't be any.
no, so keep that at 445, I think I've got 445. Let's see what that is. Tourism, is that a Christmas market?
Primarily, yeah.
Yeah,
Is it worth changing to Christmas market?
I think there was other
It's
things.
There's
Christmas.
one for Christmas.
It's
market.
mainly the Christmas lights, but I think the idea was that at times we might, when you could argue that you could almost do your rubbing out bit out of the
Oh,
tourism
yeah.
budget, and such
Yeah,
like.
that's fine.
So if you were struggling to do it out of grants, you might be able to do it out of that budget. I think there was some way in it.
So that would be 5% increase next year, 26,250 in case of lights and electricity and things. Councillors' expenses and training, we're on 2.8 this year. I thought keep it at 2.8. We can maybe drop that if we can do later. Computer expenses, that's sort of fixed, I suppose, isn't it? We're on 8,000 this year, and we spent 5. Keep that at 8.
Yeah.
Furniture, maintenance contracts for Fletton House. Do we need to allow 7.5% on that just in case?
Yeah.
So that's 1596. Fletton House
For the
furniture.
maintenance contracts,
Yeah,
1596.
1596, which is 7.5% up on this year. I thought furniture and equipment for Fletton House, when we went round on the stage, we couldn't see anything particularly glaring. We've got 5,000 in a budget here, so I thought let's move that to 4,000. It should cover, plus we should have some money from this year that we can spend some on. Fletton House electricity, 10,815. Fletton House gas, 10,500. Fletton House R&M, again, when we looked around, we couldn't find anything that was massive, so I thought at the moment, drop that from 21 to 16, 20% down. And then see, give the states a chance to reduce that or increase it as needed. Cleaning materials, we've only spent projected £400 this year, so Marco's obviously very good.
Well, he gets his cleaning materials from Clean for Shore.
So
There are just certain things that we have to buy.
So if we keep that at 600, rather than less than 1,300, cleaning, I thought 16,995 increase just in case. Consumables, keep it at 212, which is this year's budget. COVID, fingers crossed. Should we drop that to 500 and be optimistic?
Well,
But it's nice to have a pot around.
I'd drop it to
Drop it to nothing.
pardon?
Drop it to nothing.
Or, I don't know, 250.
250. Keep it to. We can always.
I don't know what would we spend. What would it?
We spent nothing this year.
Yeah, let's have nothing.
Nothing.
Mm.
Professional fees. We've spent projected 360. We've got 1030 in the budget, so I'll keep it at 1030 for the moment. There might be something deal or something or other. Marketing. Finance marketing. We've spent 4.9, and we're projected to spend 4.9. We've got 10 in the budget. So we're keeping that at 5,000.
Yeah, drop that.
Because in the end, it's sort of ticking on most.
Mm.
So I think that's most of the big figures changed. Oh, and the hub promotions, we've got 17,000 again. I thought 5,000 for that. I'm not sure what that is. Seems a big number. But yeah, it looks like things are ticking on.
Probably the budget out of the manager, couldn't it?
Yeah,
So 5,000 for that.
I think so. And that's probably the coffee machines.
So overall, I think that got us down to, well, 588 is the number I've got somewhere, 572. Which is not great, but given our electricity
Yeah,
and heating usage, it's not a lot. So is that 9% increase?
Where we are.
I think I got all the numbers right. Your spreadsheet's very complicated. I got it to 8.69%, but I might be wrong.
8.29%.
8.29.
We're playing with 2 year figures, 2 years.
Yeah. And I thought that's not a great number, but given we were 0 2 years ago, and given we're 5 this year, we haven't touched reserves with that. But we've made realistic assumptions on the big things that are outside our control. I thought
Yeah.
that was all right.
Have you touched reserves on that?
No, I don't think so. You might want to check. I haven't got any reserves in anything. Thoughts?
Well, can we find a way of pinning the increase this year to the same level of increase as it was last year? Politically, I think our plays better. But
Yeah, no, I agree.
how easy that would be to play with some of the figures,
What was
some
our-
of which are relatively arbitrary.
what sort of money is there in reserves?
That's one
Or
question
you just
just
have
about QPH.
Figure, as you say, transfer from reserves, and you put that as a line, and that can pull your precept down.
Yeah,
Because in fact, we underspent last year, and according to today's figures, even with the walls, we look like we might spend this year.
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I hardly know the year when we haven't underspent.
No, that's correct, yeah.
We do assume the worst.
Please, that's it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because some
You don't run out of money in January, do you?
They do.
That's
As we found out.
a lot of money. But the grants for QVH, when will you do the QVH budget?
Next Tuesday.
Because at the moment, that's going to be subsidised to the tune of 27,000. And obviously, if you change that, that dramatically changes.
Did we, how are we looking at spending all of that?
On the QVH?
Yeah. This year.
Not at the moment, no.
Because it's the problem, isn't it? You know where you are, but you've already set the preset.
Mm.
Projected to spend 4,006 out of 15,000
So we could be,
at the moment.
yeah, 10 grand under, but
Yeah.
we may not.
Yeah,
But then if you change that to being, if you drop 10,000 out of that, it brings it down to 6.27%.
What was our preset last year? 5. The increase was 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So change that
That's
down to
closer.
5,000.
Yeah, it is.
mm.
But on that basis, 20,000 nominally out of reserves could bring it down to near 5.
Yeah.
And we can also look at, we can decrease costs, lighting, heating, etc., like everyone else is doing, but they're big spaces. And you can make a couple of percent here and a couple of percent there, but
It's a difficult thing to project.
Buildings, there's a higher fee, and then if you want the heating one, it's an extra.
there's a surcharge for St Peters to start doing that.
What do they do?
They do a higher charge and then a heating charge. So it's
Mhm.
£50 for a day's heating. So we could, then they're all
Well, those big difficult when on one hand we're offering a warm space for people to come and sit in, and then the other hand we're going to charge people.
I think in a way some of our buildings are, that's the benefit of living in Amber, isn't it? So,
But if you're talking about a specific percentage increase, then you can just say subsidise it from reserves.
so what would we have to throw in from reserves to make that 5%? you made that change there, which was 10,000.
Yeah, I'll put it back because otherwise it messes the budgets for the year end.
So if we just put, but that knocked it down by a couple of percent. If we made, say, 20,000 reserve,
If you brought in 20,000 income from reserves, 1,000.
it's about what you're originally sold, more exciting. Literally, not nothing.
Just under 5%.
Right. And at the today's projections from your accounts we just had, we're underspending this year here by 20,000.
Yeah.
We may underspend it,
Yeah.
we usually do a 10. So in terms of assumptions, that's not the worst assumption.
I think, so what was it, 5% last year? I think it would be potentially better to match it to 5% rather than drop it.
Yeah.
Because then I don't think people would, they're not going to mind whether it's 4.5 or 5.
I think that's right, 5's a good number, but also they're going to be expecting something. Plus, we're saying we're keeping the hub as part of that.
Yeah.
So we're taking on heating, lighting,
Yeah.
a large estate in town. We're going to continue improving the walls. Yeah, we're doing all the good things. Cutting back the bad things.
Amber and blue.
We're
Yeah.
supporting this, that, the other.
I mean, what there is a single kind of major headline grabbing thing we're going to do next year, other than perhaps the whole flip.
Maybe Flatfield skate park, maybe, but that's budget neutral.
Yeah.
We've always said that. So, yeah, we've got things on the back burner that could come to fruition, but they're not going to hit the running costs.
Anything for the coronation?
Yes.
Yes, the coronation. There was a request, a thought from another councillor that we should up the grants pot to, he suggested by 20,000. I think I suggested a smaller number. And say to community organisations, you could bid for some of that pot and say, we're going to do a football coronation thing or a moving out of a coronation thing. And effectively, we would, rather than organising ourselves, we would encourage community activities over the weekend, which seemed a clever way of doing it.
I mean, just in terms of where we are we presenting this next week?
Yes, even if it's just in draft
As a
stage.
discussion?
Yeah.
point,
Yeah,
And then we're coming back when to look at it again?
well then there's another finance meeting in December and then full council, but ultimately you're not here. So unless we've got other people on,
It could be you two.
yeah, or, and Jerry can make it, but,
Jerry.
Well, the other thing is, can we have on the agenda for next week, getting somebody else onto this committee? I mean, the trouble is, with the number of councillors, sadly, a stroke again, is there any prospect of getting anybody on?
Hopefully not.
hopefully we
Next
potentially
month.
could be co-opting some people, but, that's only 2 people and then new councillors. I mean, they might just have to come on a committee, even if they're
Just
not.
sit and nod.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just that, as a learning curve, and then some of the other councillors, I mean, hopefully maybe Jamie will come onto this committee
Personally, yeah.
if he gets
He
appointed
gets to know the
as
states.
head of the state, so
Mhm.
we definitely need more, and you probably need more on estates as well, don't you, because both been,
I'm sure we do.
yeah.
I'm sure we do. But hopefully we've got,
Yeah.
next 2 months should give some good news. already.
Yeah,
Mm.
well, in that case, it's going back to what I was saying, so we have a discussion next Tuesday.
Mhm.
Inevitably, there are going to be some thoughts, including maybe that whole thing about the grants. So the reality is that we've got something to work with from tonight.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I don't think we necessarily need to go into any greater detail therefore. Let's get some feedback.
Yep.
And then we have another play with it in December.
But I think as a working document,
Yes,
that's realistic.
Yeah, I think
it
it
is.
is, yeah.
The numbers in the right places, that's all right.
So do you want me to leave the 7.5% on and the 10%?
Probably wouldn't do us any harm just to know it's there so we can play with it.
And would you like the income the reserve income to balance off so that it does come to 5%.
Yes, if you can work that out.
Yeah.
that would be good.
And then you can-
Try.
Yes.
I mean, 1975.
Yeah, okay.
You've probably got a much faster way of doing it, just pretend.
So target 5%.
Target 5%, yeah. And then we've got a realistic set of assumptions, a realistic budget, a 5% increase, which given where we are, seems pretty good actually.
Yeah.
And we're still delivering some good things. So we're happy.
Mhm.
Marvellous.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
That
you.
was positive. Right, let's get back to some other things. Now, this is where we might need some technical advice, because I read the documents and I thought that was pretty simple and straightforward, but it might tell us something very exciting. Item 22-2006, to receive notification from the pension regulator that OTC has completed the redeclaration. That's just what we have, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to do it every 3 years.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say that.
And we don't do it, we have a company that does it for us.
No, I do it.
Oh, do you do it?
Yeah, Paul Simon.
What are that other books? But they just work our pensions out?
Yeah.
Oh,
And they send us that form.
thank you.
You're welcome.
22-2007, to receive a letter from Unity Trust Bank regarding FSCS annual review and consider if any action is required. And I looked at this and I'm still not entirely sure.
Very nice.
This is the guarantee where if anything happened to the unitary, we would only be we would only get back 85,000.
Yeah.
But then Paul said to me, if the bank did go bust, then we'd all be in a really bad situation anyway. So
Yes, and I mean, it isn't feasible for us to have 10,
Bank
15 bank accounts
Yeah.
with 80,000 in each, is it? I mean, it's just, you couldn't operate.
Because it's a nice document because it says, what do you want to do? You've got 3 weeks or something. You think, well, what are the options? Open 10 new bank accounts.
Yeah.
Or not.
Ten-
open
or
10
don't do
bank
anything.
accounts.
Yeah, I know. So it's
It seems fine, and Unity are good.
yeah, I think so.
We've got
As
interest.
far as we know, they are.
Yeah.
We get in
Let's
touch
put it this
with
way,
Jason.
I can't recall having read anything in the financial pages over the last year that sort of set alarm bells ringing,
Yeah.
thinking, for God's sake, let's get our money out of there.
A lot of councils use it, so if there's some trouble.
It's not nice.
No, it's not nice and section here.
So
So we're happy to carry on.
we've
as-
received it.
And finally, to receive and consider the latest information on the local government pay services pay increase. This is a bump across the board for everyone. Something about an extra day off next year that
Yeah,
seemed very convoluted, but I didn't understand.
Everybody's got an extra day as of April 2023.
And then you wrote a lot about what that meant.
Yeah.
But it still seems to be an extra day.
Give them a day off.
And that's it, we're part of the national scheme, that's the national scheme, and there we go. So good news, it seems a good solution for everyone on the team, so that's good. And 23-24, we'll probably find out in 24-25, I suppose.
Yeah.
Where we go, give or take.
I'm surprised it went through so quickly.
I think that's everything. Rupert, anything else from you at all?
No, thank you.
David, anything from you? Paul, anything you need to know? Emma, anything at all? Thank you very much indeed, meeting closed.